Folks, welcome to the AM News. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Details now. The government is preparing to legislate new rules to guide the removal of Supreme Court and other Superior Court judges. The announcement was made by the Majority Leader Mahama Yariga on the floor, and it comes at the back of the Chief Justice's Gertrude Tokono's current locked processes seeking to remove her. Now, the process has so far been criticized by the opposition NPP, which says it is simply an attempt by the NDC to unfairly remove the Chief Justice. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, reports.
The process currently underway to remove Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono continue to receive criticism from Parliament, especially from members on the NPP minority side. Today on the floor, Deputy Minority Leader Patricia Appiagyei descended on President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, who she accused of having a preconceived agenda to remove the Chief Justice.
Audacious attempt by the presidency to undermine judicial independence have reached dangerous proportions. The nation watched in disbelief as the executive launched brazen efforts to remove the Chief Justice of the Republic.
Before Ota for Vincent Ekwa-Safwa, who had actually gone to the Supreme Court to stop the entire process, says the latest affidavit deposed to by the Chief Justice herself in a matter she has filed before the Supreme Court clearly backs her proposition up that the effort underway is simply to unjustifiably remove her from office.
I don't see why a Chief Justice will appear before a committee and he will be searched like a petty criminal. Meanwhile, the lawyers who are representing the petitioners are not searched. It cannot be a fair procedure. It cannot be a fair treatment.
Meanwhile, the government says it is now introducing new measures to guard the process to remove the Chief Justice and other persons who serve on the Superior Courts of Judicature. According to Mahama Yariga, the Majority Leader who announced this on the floor, this is expected to streamline the process that is currently outlined for in the Constitution.
The President is committed to legislative clarity with transparency when it comes to the constitutional mechanics of the removal of justices of the Superior Courts.
While the Supreme Court is yet to decide on the Chief Justice's injunction application, the process is currently ongoing. The minority say this process must be stopped because it's clearly an attempt to subdue the judiciary and pack the courts with NDC loyalists. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly says it is taking concrete steps with the Ghana Police Service to ensure commercial drivers comply with the recent 15% transport fare reduction. This follows widespread reports that some drivers continue to charge the old fares, defying the directive by the Transport Union. KMA's head of transport, Randy Wilson, says enforcement is already underway in collaboration with the police.
The head of the Transport Department at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Randy Wilson, says a strict enforcement exercise by the police has begun in Kumasi to ensure commercial drivers reduce the fares by the agreed 15%. Joy News's checks indicate there are no visible police officers on the roads for the exercise, but Mr. Wilson insists the police will be out to instill compliance.
That is what the mayor communicated to us, that the police will be out today, starting today, to ensure that every driver is able to reduce the fare that they charge now by the agreed 15% with the Ministry of Transport.
Some commuters have had to challenge drivers and their mates on their failure to reduce fares. Randy Wilson observed complaints are already coming in from commuters who claim they are being overcharged despite the new directive.
There's a phone number that we give out, and there are a lot of people who are calling to complain about they being charged beyond what has been agreed. And we are compiling all this and make it available to the police MTTD, and we are hoping that within the next 2-3 days, all these drivers will be fished out and then the appropriate punishment meted out to them.
The public has been urged to report defaulting drivers directly to the KMA.
If anybody is charged beyond the 15% reduction, please compile, just take your phone, take the vehicle number, give us the route you are working on, and then add the fare that you are charged, and send it to the numbers, and then appropriate actions will be taken against these recalcitrant drivers.
The KMA says it remains committed to ensuring passengers are not shortchanged and drivers are held accountable. Reporting for Joy News, Emanuela Irabna Akwe, Kumasi.
In other stories, President John Dramani Mahama says recent gains by the cedi have helped the country reduce its total debt burden by almost 150 billion Ghana cedis. He says if that trajectory continues, the target of reaching 55 to 58% debt sustainability by 2028 will be reached by the end of this year. Speaking during a presidential session at the 60th annual meeting of the African Development Bank and the 51st annual meeting of the African Development Fund in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, he credited the debt reduction to key interventions rolled out by his government over the past 5 months. He says his government is also focused on boosting domestic revenue, fighting corruption, cutting wasteful government expenditure, and ensuring better accountability in governance. Yes, more.
With our bilateral creditors, and therefore it brought, one, the quantum of debt down, that's the size, but it also stretched out the repayment of the debt. That brought us down to about 75, 76% debt to GDP. Since then, we're left with just 3% of the debt. We've covered 97%. It's left with the commercial creditors who hold just about 3% of the debt. And once we do that, then it means that the whole debt restructuring has been completed. But like I said when I spoke at first, I said we need to put any credit that we take or any debt that we take into the most productive parts of our economy in providing infrastructure so that you can have a rate of return on debt. You must do smart borrowing. Taking debt where you can create debt escrows so that the income for which you invested the credit can go to repay. For instance, expressways that are tolled where the toll revenues are escrowed so that they go to pay the expressway in 25 years or so. I think that these are the kinds of things that we should do. There are many examples. For instance, we built a first-class port, and that, again, did not sit on our public debt. We made our Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and their partners, Meridian Port Services, build the ports, which cost us about $1 billion, and that port is paying for itself, and that debt does not sit on our books. We built a new airport terminal we call Terminal 3, and again, we built it on the balance sheet of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. And so that project is paying for itself without sitting on our public debt. And so these are some of the innovative ideas that we need to introduce in order that our debts continue to be sustainable. But also increasingly, one of the push factors for the debt is the strength of the value of the local currency. Our debt continued to multiply because the cedi continued to grow weaker. And so you needed more cedis. Because our public debt is stated in cedis, the weaker the cedi becomes against the foreign currencies, the higher it pushes up your debt. Fortunately, some measures we put in place have recently begun to show results, and the cedi has been strengthening. And so we've reduced our total debt over the last 5 months by almost 150 billion cedis, which is very significant.
President Mahama then, he also talked about the progress made in the local processing of Ghana's cocoa. He says the country has now reached about 40% in domestic cocoa processing and expressed optimism that Ghana could match or surpass Côte d'Ivoire's 50% processing benchmark within the next 4 to 5 years.
Sometimes you notice that the world economic order is rigged against Africa. We can increase processing overnight, but you have non-tariff barriers in exporting into some of the markets. Unless they bring a processor from outside, from Europe, who comes and sets up a processing plant and gets all the regulatory things in place. I mean, an indigenous person setting up a processing plant sometimes has a very big difficulty exporting finished products into the EU market and into the American market. But I must say that we've made progress from a low of about 25% processed cocoa. Ghana has risen to about 40%, and I know Cote d'Ivoire is ahead of us. Cote d'Ivoire has done 50%, which is comfortable. And so 50% of Cote d'Ivoire's cocoa is processed domestically. Ghana is at 40%. We hope that over the next 4 or 5 years, we'll reach the stage of Cote d'Ivoire at 50% and push even further.
Thank you very much, President Mahama. We'll go next to Vice President Mpango.
Moving on, data in Ghana shows that 1 out of every adult is hypertensive, a condition with a high frequency between 27% and 34%. On World Hypertension Day, the Central Regional Health Directorate launched, quote, the Measure 1 Million campaign to commemorate the day. Now, according to the Health Directorate, the campaign is a public health revolution that will encourage screening, save lives, and enhance productivity. At the launch of the campaign at the Ebuadunkwa District Hospital, the Deputy Administrative Director of the Ghana Health Service in the Central Region, Sirini Akpanya, called for support for the campaign, urging people to be ambassadors of hypertension. Abigail Nkrumah has more in this report.
May 27 was World Hypertension Day, and at the Ebuadunkwa District Hospital in the Central Region, the Central Regional Health Directorate marked the day with the launch of the Measure 1 Million campaign. The campaign is aimed at creating awareness of hypertension and encouraging people to get screened for the condition. Sirini Akpanya is the Deputy Director of Administration at the Ghana Health Service in the Central Region.
Hypertension, commonly known as high blood pressure, has become a silent epidemic. You don't know and it has hit you. That is why we see gone too soon on the obituary process on the walls, because the person was not sick. All of a sudden, gone too soon. And it's affecting even the young people more now. The Measure 1 Million campaign is not just a hostel program. It is a public health revolution. 1 million blood pressure checks means 1 million chances to save lives, prevent strokes, reduce disability, and enhance productivity. Let us all rally behind this campaign. Let us each be ambassadors of hypertension.
Dr. Daniel Cranton, a senior medical officer at the Ebuadunkwa District Hospital, shares the reason behind the Measure 1 Million campaign.
We are launching this to get more people to get screened for hypertension so that we are able to pick them up early and then start managing them early so that they don't get these complications like stroke, like heart disease, like peripheral vascular disease, which sort of increases the mortality. Statistically, it says that hypertension causes 5% of admissions in Ghana, and it causes 15% of mortality, according to our statistics. So it's something that we need to really look at very well, and we need to actually screen more people to be able to extract those who have the condition and start managing them before complications set in.
The chief of Ebuadunkwa, Nana Owusu-Kokor II, urged people to participate in the campaign.
What I have for the country is the 1 million campaign that we started here in Ebuadunkwa. The whole nation should wake up and check their BP. It is very, very important. We should reduce our intake of salt and make sure that we eat enough fruits so that we'll be able to live long. When we go to the hospital, whatever the doctors and the medical practitioners, the nurses are telling us, we have to listen and live by it. We should take our medication and make sure that whatever they tell us is working, so that with a very good health, we'll be able to take care of ourselves and our nation.
Abigail Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
The CEO of Student Testing Services in Cape Coast has criticized the double-track system introduced in senior high schools by the previous government, describing the system as one that limits the freedom of teachers. According to the CEO, Samuel Odro Asabre, although the initiative has the best interest of the student, teachers are not motivated enough to apply the system. He questioned teachers' involvement in the decision-making of the new school system, urging the government to compensate all senior high school teachers. And he was speaking at the NAT Delegates Conference in the Adansi East Municipality of the Ashanti region.
The 7th Quadrennial 54th District Delegates Conference by Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT) is on the theme, The Ghana Education Service at 50, Achievements, Teacher Motivation, Challenges and the Way Forward. During the conference of the Adansi East NAT Secretariat, the CEO of Student Testing Services in Cape Coast, Samuel Odro Asabre, criticized the double-track system in senior high schools and spoke about digitalization.
Those of us who have passed through the university system and who know what is happening, somebody is recruited today. Within the next month, the person is paid. So you ask yourself, in this age of technology, teachers will fill forms, everyday forms. You ask yourself, why? The same set of data, you will submit it twice in a year. If you want to really help teachers in terms of motivation, we have to do more. Teachers also deserve better. As a matter of urgency, the government has to initiate action to compensate all senior high school teachers who are on the double track.
The district NAT chairman in Adansi East, Ernest Jima, highlighted some challenges of NAT.
The challenges that my people are facing are, let me say, enormous. But the very first one that I will talk of is our road network. It is affecting our teachers so much that most of them uses motor to school. Of course, you know the implications, the risk involved, and even the monetary aspect attached to it. They pay more. They pay more when they go on motorbikes. So we will plead with the government that our road network in Adansi East, which comprises Adansi Asoko and Adansi South, government will come and have a look at it.
In her address, the National Vice President of NAT, Amanda Lucia Samoa, defended the association.
Since I have been scouting all the conferences, it has come to my attention that people are accusing the national executive as having been in bed with the government, and so we are not being pragmatic and proactive. But let me tell you, just as I read from the rules of our Constitution, we are self-dependent. We are not supposed to be in bed with any government because our Constitution frowns solely on it.
From Adansi East Municipality, Appiagyei Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
An English teacher from Pakro Anglican Basic School in the Appiagyei South District of Ghana has made history as the first woman and Ghanaian to win the Global 2025 Cambridge Dedicated Teacher Awards. In a close race with 8 other regional winners from around the globe, Portia Jifa Jila earned 33% of the public vote to become the overall winner. The competition celebrates the role that teachers play in shaping the lives of their learners and preparing them for the world. Pakro is a remote farming community that faces challenges such as high rate of pupil absence and teenage pregnancy. But Portia is dedicating her professional career to transforming education. And Joy News' Blessed Suga went and met him and reports.
Pakro Ejinasi St. James Anglican School is one of the very few rural facilities providing public education in the Appiagyei South Municipality of the Eastern Region. Here, we find Portia Jifa Jila, a teacher dedicating her career to impacting knowledge on school children in rural communities.
So, I have been teaching in Pakro Ejinasi Anglican School for 6 years now. Came here in 2019 to 2025. It's been an awesome experience with mixed feelings. Sometimes you feel a whole time a girl, I feel like going back home. But I also think of the fact that the children in rural communities need an excellent teacher like myself. So I decided to stay and make input, make an impact before I move out.
But the experience of working in this community with many less endowed parents and guardians requires one to be just more than a teacher in the classroom.
Just as I have good relationship with the children, I do equally have a very good relationship with their parents as well, where some of them come home even after school to burst out their grievances that they need some form of help. For example, I, by the grace of God, have been able to get funds to support one orphan here, who is a very good student at the primary. Most of the children, even from primary, had issues with school uniforms, being in very good uniforms. Gladly, I was able to raise some funds, got uniforms for over 100 children, and their parents were also very appreciative. And for the girls, they were going through challenges of not being consistent in coming to school. I probed further, had interactions with some of them, and noticed that menstrual hygiene was also an issue. So I decided to bring in the sanitary pad project in addition to the school uniforms project. And it's been good, so far so good. There are some girls I even have to chase them to their homes to find out why they've been absent from school for some days.
Fortunately for Portia, her selfless act of service is gaining global recognition, having made history of being the first ever Ghanaian regional winner of the 2025 Cambridge Dedicated Teacher Awards.
I was highly elated, I screamed, I just couldn't hold back my joy. Because for me to be here in this rural community, very far away from the capital city and be noticed, recognized, it was mind-blowing, yeah.
With this award, Portia is hoping to make more impact in her community, as she also appeals for more partnerships to support her campaign of improving quality of education in rural communities.
But I would want to put it out there to the general public, to NGOs, to individuals who have the capacity to support us, to supply computers to my school. We need them badly, and possibly put up a whole structure where we can have as an ICT lab. Because here we have just a small section of a room which we are using as an ICT lab.
There's Ogan's report for Joy News.
Well, congratulations to Portia Jifajila, and if you have the means, please help her get some computers for her school. And that takes us into our business update now with Benjamin Akapo.
This is your business updates. Let's start with our currency market for today. Well, let's get into our sole story for the morning. An economist, Professor Patrick Esuming, is cautioning government against returning to the international capital market to borrow. According to him, such a move could introduce additional risks and challenges to the economy. In an interview with Joy Business, he emphasized that the government's focus should instead be directed toward resolving structural issues within the real sectors of the economy, as prioritizing borrowing over economic fundamentals could undermine long-term stability and growth.
Also, going back to the international capital market, I'm not so sure, but I think it shouldn't be out of our thinking at the moment. We still have fundamental challenges in the economy that have to be addressed. I think the president should focus on. Let's fix the real sector issues. It appears that the recent strong performance of the city seems to have taken too much attention, and we seem to forget that the economy still has real problems. So I think when you have the kind of challenges we have, your focus should be on fixing the challenges and not try to get access to the international capital market. It's fraught with a lot of challenges and dangers. I think at the moment, I mean, we should make it clear, as long as we are under the IMF program, we are not going back there. It's part of the deal we've signed up to that we are not going back there. So that is the first thing. But currently, you know, global rates are not extremely kind to Africa. You know, the Africa risk premium is still very high. And I think at the moment, we see that our reserves position are strong and the city is doing well. So it looks attractive to go and borrow. But that's not always going to be the case. So we've borrowed at the past at extremely high interest rates and not being able to service the debt is what has brought us here in the first place. So I think that we have to tread cautiously.
Well, from our economy and borrowing, let's now check out our commodities market. That's it for your business updates. But coming up next, we serve you sports with the man of the moment. He's clad in a Black Stars jersey. Muftar Nabil Abdullahi is up next with sports.